All right. Second topic of the day is Xbox dominating Gamescom. Now, there's a caveat I have to put to this, which is it's day one of Gamescom when we're recording this right now. So Xbox had or Microsoft had its press conference this morning. A whole bunch of other stuff's going to be happening. But we're just talking about so far. So maybe some crazy shit happens, but I kind of doubt it's going to.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Xbox announced a lot of stuff.
Hell yeah,
like there was Scalebound gameplay, Homefront gameplay, Crackdown 3, Halo 5 multiplayer stuff.
Quantum Break,
Battletoads coming to Killer Instincts, Rise of the Tomb Raider demo, the DirectX 12 stuff.
Halo Wars 2.
Yeah, Halo Wars 2.
Halo Wars 2 is probably the biggest announcement.
Yeah, definitely. And then we got some Xbox One preview program stuff. Looks awesome. Like Ark Survival Evolved.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
It looks
I want in on that for sure. And then we saw the chat pad announced, which is like, does anyone care?
It was just weird that it was like a big announcement when it was like, oh, this hasn't been around forever.
Yeah.
Like it's just the Xbox 360's deal plugged into this, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It's just like I think I could have sworn this was already existed, and it did.
So good for them. Good put on. You're forgetting, of course, DVR.
No, I was about to say that DVR.
I'm sure you were.
Which it's on my list.
I can't have a goddamn moment.
Backwards compatibility and the games with gold now. All the Xbox 360 games with gold were going to be free for Xbox One use and stuff. I mean, you guys talked about it a bit on Colin Greg Live today.
The whole show.
Yeah, but I mean, for the people that didn't watch it live then,
jerks,
and I didn't listen, so I don't know.
Ass.
What do you guys think? Because like, just from me watching it, from me seeing this, sounds like they kind of nailed it.
That was a great showing. I thought that was an awesome conference. It was paced well. I liked what they were doing. Like I liked their announcements. You know what I mean? As you know, I've been eyeing Quantum Break for quite some time. Like I like Remedy a lot. You know what I mean? And in general, just get like I appreciated that when they'd come out and be like, hey, we're not gonna be at E3. Hey, we're gonna be at, you know, they like pushed it around. They were very open and honest. So to finally get like a giant, here's the cast, here's what it looks like, here's moment to moment gameplay, here's how it's going to look jumping from the game to the TV show. I was like, awesome. This is awesome. I'm so on board with what you're doing, right? And it's because at a concept level, I remember interviewing him two E3s ago, three E3s ago about this. I'm like, this sounds awesome. Don't fuck it up. And like, it looks good. You know what I mean? It looks good. I'm like, all right, great. Now just get it to me. And it's April, right? Where April's the date. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, that's awesome.
And it's cool that they gave that too. It's like, it's something to look forward to. And we've talked about this a lot on Gamescast, but you know, the big difference between Sony and Microsoft right now is that Microsoft has its fall games, but then they also have
they have 2016.
The games they're going to talk about here, and they finally did it.
Yeah.
And now it's like, here's their 2016, at least the early 2016.
Yeah.
And we know it, and it looks solid, and people are excited about it. And then like things like Scalebound, you had some issues with it.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll get to Scalebound. What I'm impressed with, the way I look at it is like a poker game, basically. Like, Microsoft and Sony have both been holding their cards, right? And I feel like Microsoft's cards are on the table now. Like, now we know what Microsoft has and what's happening with them. Because we know that they have this great fall 2015 lineup, which I think is very impressive with Forza Motorsport 6, and then they have Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is really an exclusive, but they're exclusive for now, and then they have Halo, and they're gonna have the Gears remake or whatever, and so this is in stark comparison to PlayStation, which has fucking nothing. So in terms of exclusives, nothing at all.
Until Dawn.
Well, Until Dawn's not a fall
and
game.
a collection.
Yeah, and they have the Uncharted collection. I mean, so the Uncharted collection, I guess, negates Gears. So then they have 3 new games that are exclusive to their platform in some respect. And we'll get to the word exclusive in a minute because they fly fast and loose with that.
No Man's Sky. I'm just fucking around.
Yeah, No Man's right. So I feel like their cards are on the table, and I'm impressed. Like, I agree with you. I'm impressed with what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
But now that we know how everything kind of looks or whatever, now we kind of wait. And I'm interested to see how this fall works out against PlayStation, as we talked about many times before, is complete fucking choice now this fall, and Xbox needs to make up ground. They're losing, and that's all relative because they're still doing great, but they're losing and they need to make up ground. I think this fall is going to be a great way for them to do that. And then I look at that kind of trio of games. Of course, not talking about the fact that Gears 4 is bigger than all of those games, and that game is also probably coming out, next year, 2017. I don't know exactly when it's coming out. They didn't show it. Quantum Break, as I said on Colin and Greg Live today, has the makings and the trappings of their next Halo or their next Gears. And I think that this can be a huge series for them. And I think the game looks fucking phenomenal. Remedy's been very capable. They did Max Payne. They did Alan Wake. They know what they're doing. And they have a long lineage, a long heritage working with Microsoft. I'm surprised they're not actually like a real first-party studio. Maybe they will be one day. They're kind of like the Quantic Dream.
I was gonna say you got to imagine they've turned that deal down.
Yeah.
They've been offered before.
And Quantic Dream. We always say the same thing with Quantic Dream with PlayStation as well. So I think what's surprising me about Quantum Break is that the game looks great, and I also like this TV show accompaniment to it. And it's a little weird to me that we don't know the financials or why they did it, but Microsoft was kind of pursuing this original programming thing that they didn't just abandon and fired everybody. But they're still doing this particular show, and it's another one of those examples of like I just wish I saw what you wanted to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
With all of these shows, like what if everything had a fucking show? You know what I mean? I started to think about that when I was watching it. I was like, what if Scalebound had a show? What if you had a show for Halo, like a real show that was many seasons long that could have been going for years and having, as opposed to just kind of these tentpole kind of things when you do things that make sense. In other words, making these IP something that's bigger than just the game, which Sony, for instance, hasn't been able to do with Uncharted, right? So, and I hope that they want to do it with The Last of Us, but that's kind of stupid too. I don't want them to make that movie.
Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, Ratchet and Clank, which they're dragging out of its fucking coffin as we speak.
The coffin it's been in for 2 years.
Let it die. So Quantum. That's a long and winding thing, but Quantum Break I think looks really, really good.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Really good cast.
I think Crackdown 3 also looks like a lot of fun, and I was excited about it because what we were talking about on Colin and Greg today was open world is starting not to mean anything. It's starting to mean just a place, right? Open world should mean more than that. It should mean an interconnectivity between the things you do and meaningful engagement with the world and quests and missions. And it seems like on a periphery, because we don't know fucking anything about Crackdown 3, that they're going to do that. It reminded me, as I said, of the Godfather games, which I think are underrated. And the reason I like those games is because you were kind of taking over parts of the city and they were working for you and you had to go kind of protect them. And I always like that kind of thing. And I got that kind of vibe from Crackdown 3, whether or not that's real, who knows. Scalebound wasn't running well. And it's very early. And of course, I just look at games like that when I'm like, it's not running well now and you're ready to show it. And that, to me, isn't a good sign. What game was like that, Greg, from PlayStation 4 that we saw and it didn't run very well? The Order 1886.
Yep.
And yet they showed it, and I was like, this game looks like shit. And they were like, it'll look better. It's early. Everyone was yelling at me. And what did we get?
It did look better.
It looked better, but we got a game that was, in other words, the first time you see a game, think about The Last of Us. Right? The first time you saw the game being played was in the apartment building, right, at E3.
Yeah.
And that game was fluid and it was awesome. And everyone got excited about it. It ran, they made changes to the game. I mean, if you look back on it, they made a lot of changes. But it was in good shape. And I feel like you have to get to that point with your game before you show it, because I feel like you get out on the wrong foot and it might cause some trouble for you. And I feel like specifically with Platinum, that it's just kind of hit or miss. And they made one of my very favorite games of the last generation, Vanquish, but they also made some duds. And so I don't really get excited about them because I'm in more of a wait and see approach. I think that people get excited because it's just cool to see a powerful, popular Japanese developer doing something with a Western studio. And I think that's very exciting. That's great. But I'm skeptical of that game. So I think 2 out of 3, in my opinion, pretty good. Way better than it usually goes for any press conference in terms of the big marquee titles.
Sure.
Because I think there's fucking every reason in the world to be excited about Quantum Break, and I think there's every reason to be excited about Crackdown.
That's the thing. And
Scalebound, we'll see.
What speaks about him and like what I find interesting, because I was in the same boat, not even about the performance of Scalebound, just in terms of the moment-to-moment gameplay, it wasn't something I'd be into. Whereas Crackdown sounded awesome, and I wanted that immediately. And whereas Quantum Break sounds awesome, and I wanted that immediately.
And it looks awesome.
And it's the diversity of those games, right? That they are 3 very different experiences. They aren't all third-person shooters. They aren't all obviously like it's what I think we were talking about today. Quantum Break is going to be that linear, not in a bad way, game of like, here's the story we're telling you. It's so linear, in fact, that when you beat this chapter, why don't you start this episode that's on your disc? You know what I mean? And then you have Crackdown that's going to be open world, go fucking fuck everything up or play the game or whatever the hell you want to do. You know what I mean? And Scalebound's going to be running around all Japanese and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your favorite.
Your favorite thing. Yeah. No, so there's no Goofy in this one. I'm sorry.
No, but there was Beats headphones.
There were Beats headphones. Yeah, the game, to me, it's just like, I don't know. I get a little, I'm skeptical of it. I don't think it's going to be bad or good. We've been here before. We've seen games that were exciting from exciting developers be announced and then rolled out in weird ways. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I thought it was cool that they were playing it live, because I think that's ballsy. A lot of studios don't do that. And they did. Kamiya got up on the stage and did play it live, and I give him a lot of credit for that. But I'm in a wait and see kind of holding pattern, and I don't think that game's going to come out in 2016. Even though it's supposed to come out holiday 2016, I think we'll see.
I think
I don't know that they even really need it. We'll see.
I don't know
we'll
if
see
they
what
need it
happens.
for sure. Yeah.
like,
Well, I mean, also remember that things are getting spaced out, but I know what you mean. You're talking about because of Gears.
Yeah, Gears will come out, and
Yeah.
presumably, I don't know. They didn't have Gears 4. I don't know if Gears 4 has been definitively said 2016, but you have to assume
check
it's
it out
got to
for
be.
you.
Yeah, check it out for me. A lot of this goes back to overall. I'm impressed with what they're doing. I think Microsoft's Phil Spencer's a smart dude, and
December 2016 says Google.
so that means 2016
Holiday, yeah.
because that game's not going to come out in December.
Quarter 4 2016 says Wikipedia.
So October, November. I feel like Microsoft, well, not Microsoft, Xbox was so ill managed under the previous leadership that it needed someone with balls and conviction and knowledge to come in and fix it, and he did, and he is.
Yeah.
And I think that he deserves a lot of credit for that because Xbox One from the fucking get go was a problem for a lot of people. Like the way they rolled it out, the way they talked about it. I still love that Supercut. We talked about it many times. Sports. Call of Duty, TV. Like I'm like that's classic. And that's old Xbox.
Yeah,
that
that's
Xbox
old thinking.
doesn't exist anymore.
Now it's all Windows 10.
Now this is what I was getting to. This is the other problem, and this is a huge problem I think for them. And I don't know that I know some people don't agree, but I think that it's going to matter for them. You can see Xbox is owned by Microsoft, but they seem to be pretty autonomous. You can see Microsoft's hands now on Xbox for the first time with Windows 10. They are injecting it everywhere, and I don't think it's necessarily a problem. People like Windows 10. You're enjoying it. You're using it. I haven't upgraded yet.
There's issues. People are having issues.
But I feel like, and this is what I was alluding to earlier with the use of the word exclusive. Microsoft plays fast and loose with the word exclusive, which is always annoyed me. They played that game with Tomb Raider. Like they played that game with Tomb Raider. Everyone knew it wasn't an exclusive. They finally, Square finally admits it like 18 months later that it's coming to PlayStation 4. I just want words to mean something, right? An exclusive means something. It means it's exclusively on your platform. So when you have a game like when you're talking about Killer Instinct Season 3 and you're like Xbox exclusive and on PC. It's like, what the hell does that mean? You know what I mean? So I feel like, Quantum Break and these kinds of games, Scalebound are Xbox One exclusives. They are. They're not going to be on PC. At least they haven't said that yet. But I'm concerned for Microsoft and for Xbox and its ability to come back based on them putting some of these games on PC. And we have to kind of look behind the scenes, and we don't really have any of the answers of why they're doing this, because certainly there's financial ramifications one way or the other to do that. And as we explained on Colin and Greg Live today, my thought is this. They look at it and they're like, we can sell maybe more consoles, X amount of more consoles, if we just really have real Xbox One exclusives. So Fable Legends is really just on Xbox, or like these kinds of games are really just Xbox games. But we can sell more games, Y% more games by putting them on PC on an agnostic platform that really has nothing to do with our competitors. But it is in stark comparison to what Sony does. You're not going to play Bloodborne on PC. I can't think of one Sony Computer Entertainment published game on PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 3 that's playable on PC. And that creates a real ecosystem where exclusive really means something different. And I want Microsoft to do something with Xbox One to make it super competitive again. And I feel like that might be necessary for them to make some more real exclusives. But I think they look at the financial ramifications and they might not care about the optics.
And that's the whole thing I was talking about on Colin and Greg Live. I don't think it matters to them. I think that PlayStation's way out in front right now, making it look like it is a runaway success. Xbox is still doing so well that it doesn't matter, and so they aren't worried about catching up to the point of, well, let's handicap all these games and only put them on Xbox One. I just don't think they care. It was Microsoft, a brand.
And if anything, I mean, them pushing Windows, it's very clear with Windows 10 that they are trying to make that the new platform that all Windows users use, and the fact that they're making it free for everybody, and the fact that they are like trying to win back the goodwill of the people after 8, and like we've seen this before with Vista and with like a bunch of other shit. Like everyone loved XP, everyone loved 7, and this is finally the one that they're trying to like get everyone back. Let's all get on the same page here and let's go forward from here. And I think that they need to kind of put some of these games on it to kind of win back that over. The win over the Apple people, it's like they're not going to get to play Halo Wars 2 on their system, but Windows 10, I feel like they're really trying to make like, hey, we're all on an even playing field now, and you get to play these games as well. And I just think they're different audiences too.
Yeah, that was the big thing I was making, and just the fact that I think a PC player, is a PC player, and I think a console player is a console player, and that's why I know it's a mouthful to be like a console exclusive on Xbox. You know what I mean? To do that, but I think that's really where it comes down to is for me, am I going to play it on PS4 or Xbox One? PC never even enters in the equation because I'm a console guy, and I think it's the same way for PC players, really.
And you look at third party games, right? Like a bunch of Capcom games or like all the shooting games and stuff. They're also on PC, and it's like the people that want that version, they're gonna get the PC version. Those aren't the guys that are playing on console.
Yeah, well, the Street Fighter is a great example of Sony starting to do the same thing because I'm racking my brain trying to think of a PlayStation game that appeared on PC, and I can't think of one. And
you're talking about a PlayStation, Sony, because I mean, people are probably shouting out there DC Universe Online, but that was
No,
SOE,
that's-
which
no,
is now
that's not.
Daybreak. I know, I'm saying
Yeah.
for them at home. I'm just making sure we're being clear on what you're talking about.
yeah, like a PlayStation game but here's the thing: Street Fighter V is going to be published by Sony, and it will be on PC. So they are maybe starting to do the same thing with but they haven't done it yet. And I say this because I think that's what it's helping Sony. It's saying like we really can only play these games here. There's no chance. We have no history of doing anything else, so we're not fucking around. You know, like.
Yeah.
If you want to play this game, you're going to play it here, or you're not going to play it at all. You know,
But I think that's the thing with something like Halo Wars 2. Like, I don't think that there's a overwhelming majority of people that are like, I'm gonna buy a system for that game.
No.
They're the guys that are like, oh, it's coming to PC now. I guess I'll play it.
yeah, I'm not disputing anything you're saying. I'm just saying that there's an opportunity cost to doing things like this, and that's getting more hardware into the wild. And it seems like that might not be the biggest concern for them. Indeed, some of these suggest that it's not the biggest concern, but the biggest games that they have, with the exception of Halo, which I think is PC concurrent.
No. I mean, I'm not positive about Halo 5, but at least in the past, Halo has always been comes to PC way later.
So that's a good point.
At least Halo 1 and Halo 2. I don't even think the other Halos came to PC.
So that's a good thing to know then, because my point was that to their credit, to Microsoft's credit, the biggest of the biggest games are really Xbox One's exclusive. These are kind of more of the A tier and B tier games that, you know, like no one really cares about Fable Legends. So yeah, put it on PC. It doesn't really matter. Halo Wars, you know, that kind of game caters to PC audiences, and it's being the weirdest thing about Halo Wars is who's fucking making it, which is Creative Assembly, and this is when things get really weird. Creative Assembly is owned by Sega. They're making a Microsoft published exclusive with their biggest IP, and I was like, this is weird. Like things are getting weird now for me in a good way, because now studios are starting to work with each other and getting out. What that showed me was that if they can tap into Sega's stable, what's stopping them tapping into someone else's stable? Ubisoft's. What's stopping them from tapping into, one of these great studios that I would have never in a million years guessed that would happen. You know, so
But Sega's just hurting.
they
I
are
think
hurting.
that's what it comes down to. Ubisoft's gonna be like, no, we can sell more by putting it on every platform,
Sure.
unless you're gonna offer us a boatload of cash
Sure.
to get us, exclusively.
So overall, man, I don't know if Greg's opinion differs. I was left impressed by Microsoft's press conference. They had no competition at the show. So that helps them. But I don't think even if they had competition, is a healthy chance they probably would have won.
Yeah.
In quotes. But their cards are on the table now.
Yeah, I thought it was a great press conference, man. It was entertaining. Like we had it on out there, and it was just cool. It was good to have on because it was like things were happening. We're seeing these new games for the first time, loaded gameplay for the first time for a lot of it. So that's awesome. A big question I'm seeing a lot, and like there's a huge NeoGAF thread about this, is did Sony fuck up by not having a presence at Gamescom?
No, definitely not. They definitely didn't. I think that it was smart of them because they have Microsoft's catalog right now was such that they had games this fall and then they have games next year, and Sony had no games this fall. So they focused at E3 on next year's games, and then they're going to be at Paris Games Week, and they're going to be alone there. So they're playing the same game that Microsoft's playing now, which is like we'll be there alone, and then we'll have our press conference. And it might be a stroke of genius on their part because they're going to go last. And Sony, I think, always benefits from going last at E3, and I think they're going to benefit from going last here in terms of the mind share as we go into the fall and start playing our games and not really caring about game news for a while. Sony is going to show at Paris Game Week fucking dollars to donuts Quantic Dreams game.
It better.
And I think that it's so obvious. Like I'd be shocked. Quantic Dream is in Paris. We know they're working on a PS4. We haven't seen anything of it. Shu told us he played it. It exists. So I think you're going to see that game there. I think you might see Sucker Punch's game, which no one even knew was really in existence, but Shu had played that. I think you're going to see more of Media Molecule's game. I think you'll see Ben's game. So there's things for them to announce. I don't think Sony made a mistake unless you think about the direct competition, head-to-head competition as being important to them both, and I think Sony doesn't need to do that right now. Microsoft's is in a vulnerable position that Sony isn't, strangely. So they have to make a move. Sony can just sit back passively and be like, well, our console's selling out any games. So like, what's the point of even saying anything at all? And I think that both sides are being smart. They're because they're both in different spots. So they're both
playing their position.
Yeah, they're playing their position very well. So Microsoft's going to be able to chatter right now. Colin and Greg Live today was all Microsoft news. So they won. They won the day. They're being talked about, and then they'll kind of put their games out this fall while Sony's kind of gearing up to get ready for 2016. More imminently, I think Sony has a lot to fear from Microsoft this fall. And if it doesn't pan out for Microsoft this fall in terms of them catching some ground and winning October, November, and December, then
can anything ever?
Yeah, then I think that they're just forever at a disadvantage. But I think it's going to pan out pretty well for them this fall. Yeah.
The topic was brought to you by Loot Crate. Would you classify yourself as a geek, gamer, or pop culture nerd? Then Loot Crate is the subscription box for you. For less than $20 a month, you get 6 to 8 items of gamer and pop culture licensed gear, apparel, collectibles, unique one-of-a-kind items, and more. Make sure to head to lootcrate.com/KFGames and enter code KFGames to save $3 on any new subscription. Every month, there's a different theme, and you're guaranteed $40 or more worth of items, all curated around that theme. They're all inspired by classic movie and video game releases we all know. This month, we're cowering in fear at the return of the villains. Whether they're terrifying or tragic, something about bad guys and gals is just plain fun. Probably the snazzy outfits, army of henchmen, and totally rateable treat yourself to some sweet loot attitude.
See, that's how villains think.
I get that.
You
I've been
didn't-
there.
you
Treat
didn't-
yourself.
That's like a
You know,
classic
that's
Cruella
what
de Vil.
Shocker used to always say that in the Spider-Man cartoons.
Treat yourself. Thanks for joining us as we celebrate our darker side with epic items from Marvel, an exclusive DC figure, a unique wearable that they've never put in a crate before. It's a really big crate, and more. Go to lootcrate.com/KFGames and enter code KFGames to save $3 on your new subscription today. I really wonder what the big thing is in the crate.
I know they keep teasing it, and it's gonna be a big crate. Yeah, I really want to know.
It's gonna be.
I really want to know what that DC figure is too. Kevin is signifying it's going to be pants. Underwear. That's not a big thing,
No, it's something it's a garment they've never done before.
but it's a wearable
But it's
tech, isn't
big.
it?
Is it wearable tech?
What does it say? Read it again.
Oh my god. All right, hold on.
I want a Superman underwear.
A unique wearable we've never put in a crate before. It's a huge crate.
A unique wearable we've never put in a crate before.
Underwear.
It's not underwear.
It's a thong.
I think it's gonna be
That's small,
a
kinda.
working watch.